Thank you for calling the Bombas Comfort Line. Bombas make socks, slippers, tees, and underwear made with the highest quality materials. Press 1 for comfort, 2 for style, 3 for donation. You chose style. Bombas has styles for whatever you enjoy. You can run in Bombas, lounge in Bombas, dress them up, dress them down, but always give back in Bombas. Because with every item purchased, another is donated. Bombas, comfort worth calling for. Go to bombas.com/audio and use code AUDIO for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com and use code AUDIO.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
G'day world, this is the Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to Keeping It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ASA podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review the last 2 Road to New Beginning shows and cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com along with the Social Suplex newsletter. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live on patreon.com/KI Strong Style. If you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Young boy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm here, ready to do the show. I'm on time. It is, as we've announced on previous episodes, the first episode of the year where we are allowing the live video to be displayed on the grade 1 tier for $5. So hopefully we get a lot of you guys in the chat. If you're listening and you're not in the chat, you need to be on the grade 1 tier. We want you in the community. We want to hear from you and give you an opportunity to interact with ourselves and the other listeners and, ask us a lot of questions. Jeremy, what's going on with you? Are you guys are getting close, right?
Yeah, final countdown to Baby Donovan. We're
the final countdown.
Yeah, we're like 4 or 5 weeks away. So yeah, that's coming up. Also, we've been dealing with the flu last week. That's not been great. But both recovering from that. But yeah, baby will be here soon.
That is very exciting. And I mean, you never want them to come earlier than anticipated, but I mean, you just never know. Like next week, I could find out that I'm doing the show without you, and we need coverage. So
yeah, we got a very generous Social Suplex paternity leave package, right?
We do. It's gonna basically be what we make already, extended for as long as you need it. Yeah, it was a big weekend. The Royal Rumble happened this weekend. Fucking awesome. Just incredible wrestling there. The UFC was this weekend. Luckily, those shows tend to, when they take place outside of the country, you get less of the MAGA-ism that is just so prevalent during their shows nowadays. And then, so I honestly, I didn't watch that show. I'm kind of at this point, like, I might start watching MMA again, but if I do, it's probably going to be like one FC or like Ryzen because I don't know if I can rock with what they got going on. But I did watch the big Teofimo Shakur Stevenson fight, and Shakur put an ass whipping on that dude, which was pretty monumental. So busy weekend, and then along the way amongst that stuff, family time, other things, I squeezed in a little road to action.
Nice. Well, I did not watch the Royal Rumble. Just I don't know. I just had no interest in watching that, and I did.
It was funny. Oh, go ahead.
No, so I did watch Collision to watch Ciampa's AEW debut, which was pretty good.
Heard that was good. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. A lot of people in our Discord and online were chomping at the bit to get Ciampa into New Japan. I'm fine with him coming to New Japan. I'm just like, he's too small for a G1. but he is an incredible performer. So, honestly, I think that he is, of many guys that get released, I think he is in that vein where he is absolutely a better fit for AEW than any of the other major organizations,
Yeah, definitely. He's a guy that, he had the grind on the indie scenes, went through Ring of Honor. He's part of Black and Gold NXT, and also a guy that really was passionate and loved wrestling. And it was just kind of a shame that they didn't really do anything with him on the main roster, which you would think, with Triple H being head of creative and Ciampa was one of his boys in Black and Gold, you would think that, him and Gargano would have got pushed more, but they just kind of floundered around on SmackDown, the tag division. And so he saw an opportunity to kind of break free. He's 40 now, and so it's kind of the last shot to, make it big. So I'm happy for him, and the debut was great.
Yeah, I never watch any of those Saudi shows, Rich Latta games. Talk about the folks that doubting that man. No, that's your guys' job.
Yeah, there was a lot of people who were like really down on Ciampa coming in and calling him like Tomato Chomper, just like burying this man. I was like, I don't get what the hate was, but went out there and showed what he's about.
A lot of people eventually really soured on the Gargano Ciampa feud because they went to the well one way too many times and it got long in the tooth. But I will always maintain, and this is my personal opinion, that first big match that they had during WrestleMania weekend in New Orleans, I think that's the best NXT match of all. Outside of it's kind of hard to argue against Walter and Ilya. But outside of those matches, I think that's the best NXT match. And, a lot of people, they have the Gargano Adam Cole series, or the what was the big match with Andrade?
And Gargano.
Andrade and Gargano. I don't think that those matches are as good, honestly. I think that is a masterclass. And Ciampa's highly underrated at this point. I think like a lot of guys, like for instance, just, kind of giving you an example. I think if like a Pete Dunne or a Tyler Bate left right now, people would be talking so much shit and acting like that they're just washed, totally dumb, blah, blah, blah. But like we saw with Ricochet this year, what these guys can do if they're allowed to go into an environment that would kind of harvest their talents and play to their strengths.
Yeah, especially for Dunn and Bate, they're still super young. So if they were able to leave anytime soon, they could definitely make an impact.
I don't know if I would say they're super young.
Well, I mean, compared to they're younger than Ciampa.
Right. Yeah. I mean, bro, literally I was in New Jersey about a decade ago when they were breaking into the company.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's 10 years. That's 10 wasted years. I don't know how we got off on this, but what I was going to say is normally I don't, they're not even 30. Yeah, they got a lot of miles on their bodies. They got youth, but they're not super young. They're like 28, 29, both of them. I don't normally watch those Saudi shows, but, it's like my wife and my brother-in-law, they love the Royal Rumble. I love the Royal Rumble. Plus, I'm not paying for the shit anyways. I would never pay for that show. It's included with my cable package. So I'm like, fuck it. I'll turn it on, whatever. But like, really bad show. The funny thing though, AJ Styles. Now, you know, of course, we're New Japan podcast. We're always sort of like behind the 8 ball when it comes to like someone gets released, they're a free agent. We're hoping that they come here. And if they do, it's usually like a one-off on the way to greener pastures. But you just never know. I mean, if he continues to wrestle, which he clearly, you know, did some trademarks for his name and for his, you know, his likenesses and catchphrases and nicknames and all that, he might come back to New Japan, even if it's just for a one-off, which is something that I'd very much like to see still.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We do have some questions later on about AJ, but yeah, very interesting. A lot of speculation on where AJ potentially could land up next. I know there's a lot of people in, you know, Triple H and Rosenberg went out there to Damage Control and like, yeah, you know, AJ told us, you know, he's done wrestling. He's not going to wrestle again. So, and then there are other people saying, you know, there's an AEW offer out there. So we'll see what happens with AJ.
Well, I mean, he pretty much very clearly teased at the end of the Walter match that he lost that he's going to continue wrestling, yep. Which I very much wondered if that was him going into business for himself or what the deal is, if they knew he was going to do that. But like, you know, he teased he was going to take off his gloves and leave him in the center of the ring. And he's like, no, fuck it. And he put him back on and he did the pose.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into some New Japan topics. First thing I just want to talk about real quick. So, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the IWGP Heavyweight title and, you know, the lineage and guys being added to the lineage. And this weekend, there was an update on the Japanese New Japan site, and they have updated the lineage for the Intercontinental title. So now all former IWGP World Heavyweight Champions, along with being added to the V4 lineage, they are now added to the Intercontinental title lineage.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid. I hate that so much. I cannot believe they did that. We'll voice the reasons why. There's quite a few reasons why I think this was a bad call. But, you know, my biggest thing is like, I know it's wrestling. Wrestling is entertainment. You know, it's, you know, what WWE likes to call it. It is sports entertainment. But I like to lean into that sports realism aspect of it, where it's like, for me, someone who is, you know, borderline autistic, I love the lineages. I love the stats. I love the records. And you just fucking blew up the records all in one weekend when a month ago this was settled. You know, there was no, they did not. I know it kind of falls in line with some of the remarks that were made during that press conference, but like if they were going to do this, they should have done it a month ago and made it very clear during the press conference that this is the way they were going. I would have disagreed with it, but at least it would have been known. But it just randomly popped up out of nowhere. And like, I saw a few people talking about it, but like literally I jumped in our Discord and I'm like, did they really do this? And people are like, no, wait. And then they checked like, yes, they did.
Yeah, you know, I was fine with them adding the guys into the V4 lineage because, like, you know, historically, same title. It's the IWGP Heavyweight title, World Heavyweight title, whatever, you know. I was fine with that. But, yeah, I don't really agree. I don't really like them putting them into the IC lineage because I'm like, all right, the titles were merged into one title. So they were merged into, like, the world title. Like, that's a new title was created. And that represented the top title. So if the IWG heavyweight is the top title, so I get that correlation. But then to rebirth like the IC lineage and pretty much almost like a super retcon of like, all right, the world title was just both titles being defended all the time, and so now all these guys have to be in the IC lineage.
Yeah, I agree with you. The point that you made there where it's like these two belts were merged into one title, right? Like you said, the rationale behind it was we are going to take two great lineages, combine them, end them, and then create something that is in theory greater than the sum of its parts. Now, at the time, there was a lot of people upset about this because it's like the IC title served a very significant role, highly established, and they still kind of needed a belt to facilitate what that belt represented. Now it's been, for better or for worse, replaced by the global heavyweight title, even though they're not the same. They're both white. There's kind of almost like a spiritual succession that's gone on there. But we always knew that everybody pretty much just thought that the world heavyweight title was realistically a continuation of the IWGP heavyweight title. So when they brought back the V4 and said, we're going to revert it back to the IWGP, I mean, you already heard me the first time where I wasn't really gung-ho about the idea that they retroactively determined that every world champion was also a heavyweight champion, you know? Mm-hmm. I would have preferred it personally if they would have just literally at that time had said, you know, up until Kota Ibushi, this was the whatever number he was, the IWGP heavyweight champion, that number. And then they basically would just put an asterisk next to it and say from him all the way to Tsuji, that this was technically the same, you know, lineage, same title, but it was its own thing. So they would like still have their own number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever it is. And then Tsuji would be the next number after Kota Ibushi. But instead they just literally erased the entire heavyweight lineage or the world lineage and just put it into the heavyweight lineage. That's all fine and good. But now that you have added everybody that was a world heavyweight champion into the IC lineage, number one, none of those guys were defending a secondary belt. They were all defending the main belt. So it creates this idea that they were all defending the secondary title, which they clearly never were.
Yeah.
They weren't booked at that level, which is technically a lower level. Like, you know, I saw someone say like, oh, John Moxley is one of the only people to have held, you know, the world title of all these companies and the 2 intercontinental titles. And I'm like, but he never held an like, we know he held a world title. It's basically the same thing as the IWGP, but he wasn't also little homing a fucking white belt on top of it. Like it flies in the face of logic, and it kind of just does. I think it devalues them turning the world title back into the heavyweight title. Cause now they're just like, oh, none of this stuff ever fucking existed. So it was all the same the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you can retcon some stuff, but you can't retcon everything. Like it's illogical.
Yeah. Rich saying we need a heel to bring back the V5. So that's right. Naito won the IWGP years ahead of time. And Nakamura actually won the IWGP World back before he left.
Well, no. None of that makes sense because it's not like they weren't merged, you know, before the double gold dash. So that's not the case. But like still moving forward, it's fucking stupid. It's like, you know, for instance, now Jay White and Naito, when they had their world heavyweight title runs, they also had IC title runs now. But they didn't have IC title runs. Like, I think it's more forgivable to be like, you know, the world heavyweight title and the heavyweight title are basically the same thing. They're, you know, they both have IWGP on them. They're both black straps. They're both the top belts. It just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But then to suddenly turn around and be like, oh, and the white belt was kind of in there too. It wasn't. It's stupid.
Yeah. They should have done it kind of like how, WWE did it back in the day when like the world title and the IC title got merged into the world title. Like the IC lineage was done. And then they brought back the IC title, and then the lineage kind of continued on from whoever the last champion was, and then added on to that. And that's what they like. The IC title lineage should have ended with Kota Ibushi, and that's it. Like, they just don't need to then lump these guys into that.
Yeah, I don't always love how they handle their lineages. There's quite a few things over the years that they've done that I'd be critical of. Rich says, can't believe Okada was an IC champ. Exactly. Like Okada was not an IC champ. It's so that this is one of those things where WWE did do the better job of handling this properly, because it's just like, I don't know. It's stupid. It's stupid because someone like me who's going to like, or like, for instance, like someone like, I don't even know. I'd be interested to see like what Chris's view on all this is. But you know, someone like me who cares about like the lineages and stuff, it makes me feel dumb to have to go through the lineage and be like, well, actually Okada did have a one-time IC run, even though he never carried an IC belt, never was acknowledged as one. It's retroactive. It's fucking stupid. And you know what I think it also does? I think maybe we're being too nitpicky. I don't know how other fans feel about this, but for me, I just hate it. But it's like that movie, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, where he's talking to that dude and he's like, everything cool that Susan just said, you made it not that. You just ruined it. That's what I feel like they did. Everything that was cool about Tsuji turning the world heavyweight title back to the V4, back to the heavyweight lineage is like, and we also tacked on the IC title lineage too, but also it doesn't exist anymore. And it's like, why did you even bother? Like, why didn't it? And they're not going to fix it now. Like, it's done. We have to just, you know, I guess a historian has to accept it. I don't know like what the, how a historian really deals with it, because it's so illogical. It's like, you guys are fucking stupid. This is not real. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
This is Rio de Janeiro shit. This is Fabulous Moolah being champion for 40 years straight, you know, with no losses. That should never happen either. That's what this is.
Yeah. I wonder how they will address it on commentary. If they address it at all, they just kind of like, or hiding under the rug and just, you know, hoping people don't make too big of a stink of it.
Chris Charlton, bring your ass to the stage. The people demand to know.
Well, I'm sure, you know, Charlton's a big, you know, history guy. I wonder how he feels personally about it. I'm sure he probably can't really say on air, but yeah, for a guy like him that really loves the history, like that's probably super weird too.
It's fucking dumb. I hate it. I actually was, this is one of those things where I didn't look at the rundown and I wasn't even sure if we were going to talk about it, and I wanted to be sure to remember it. So I'm glad that you brought it up. It's just like, I don't know. I don't have anything much more to add to it, but I just think it devalues what Tsuji did and it flies in the face of all logic.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. We have 2 Road 2 shows to go over here. So we had 2 shows from Korakuen Hall back to back. So night 5 was Sunday, February 1st. So got an attendance of 1,234. Josh, they were able to put people in the building without evil. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how the company survived, but somehow they did it. They got people in the building with no evil on the card.
Looked to me like it was a sellout.
Yeah,
back-to-back nights. I don't know.
Well, night 2 was a little bit less than the night 5. So, but still,
Jake Lee. Draw.
Yeah, he was in the main event this night. But show opened up. We had the finals of the Young Lion Cup. Katsuya Murashima defeating Shoma Kato in 11 minutes and 15 seconds.
This basically played out exactly the way that I proclaimed it probably would go. Very chalk, very traditional. Give the guys time to shine and try out new things and grow. Put the 2 most experienced and tenured students of the class in the finals and have the guy who's the leader of the class go over. That's typically what they tend to do, and that's exactly what they did here. I thought this was really great. I think for a lot of people, oftentimes everybody knows that I do wonder if everybody always watches the Young Lion matches. I feel like sometimes for some fans, there's probably a feeling of like, you know, it's very samey and repetitive.
Job guys.
Yeah. So, and they're not that super invested in the beginning, but you know, there's freaks like us that are always super invested. We know how good these guys are, but you always also know that it's going to be pretty formulaic and very fundamental based. And these matches are still that, but it also tended to get a little bit more fire, be a little bit bigger of a spot, have more investment from the fans. And we kind of know it's the send off for these guys. And these are probably at this point with their tenure in the group, the two guys that have wrestled against each other the most, have the most, experience and like chemistry with one another. So they really understand what each of them like brings to the table. And I thought they did a great job. Now it is funny because it's like, I've seen some comments from some people and being like, you'll be hard pressed to find a better Young Lion match like ever. And I'm like, I don't know, man. You might want to go back and watch Narita and who was that? Yagi?
Oh yeah, dude, that match.
Both Narita Yagi matches, I'm still gonna be like, show me a fucking Young Lion. That's the standard. You're not gonna find some shit that's better than Narita Yagi. But and there's probably some people being like, what are you talking about? Do yourself a favor.
Do your research.
Do your research. Got some other stuff for you guys. I want to do your research this week. Fuck. But this was great, and I'm glad to see how this turned out. And I think the right guy went over, and both guys are going off to Excursion. It looks like.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the match. Shoma Kato was working over the arm of Morishima. Also, Morishima's adopted that running power slam as his finisher. So Shoma Kato smartly working over the arm throughout the whole match. He was doing, Kimuras and Fujiwara arm bars and just really working over the arm and kind of, like you mentioned, adding in some new wrinkles that you normally don't see from Young Lion. So I thought the arm work and Morishima's selling was really good throughout the match. And towards the end there, like Kato was like doing some Zack Saberism. Like, he had the Fujiwara in, and then Morishima was like trying to reach for the ropes, and he started trying to grab the other arm to like stop. I
loved that, the way he hooked. Here's how much I loved that. It's like, I'm not wrestling right now, but every now and again I would see something where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go fucking try that out. And I was like, damn, I wish there was a place to roll right now, because I would for sure be stealing that underhook. You bring it back and then you sink back into it. Oh, that's fucking good.
Yeah. But Morishima showed his fighting spirit, was able to overcome the arm damage, hit the big running power slam, and got him into the Boston Crab. Jumped on that man's back in the crab, and
jump on that hoe.
Yeah, got the win. He said, do a flip. But yeah, good way to open up the show. Morishima gets the win. Post-match, we did have President Tanahashi come out with the trophy, gives Morishima the trophy, photo op there. So nice little way to close off the Young Lion Cup.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm not opposed to them potentially in the future bringing back the league, but there were times where I felt like the league was a little bit drawn out. I'm not opposed to them continuing to have this tournament be single elimination based. I thought that this was very crisp, quick, to the point, and maybe was easier from a booking perspective too.
Yeah, we did have a question here from Dazah533. Would you change anything about the Young Lions Cup, and how do you proceed from here with them? Excursion?
Well, my understanding is they are going off to Excursion. I don't think there's anything that I would change about the Cup. There was to me, the big question mark going into it was Zane J, a guy who hasn't won a lot, but seemed to be poised, to potentially get a push, and they went a different way. They basically had him get DQ'd out, but graduate immediately off of that, which I thought that was smart. There's probably some people that were disappointed about that match with him and Daiki Nagai, because those are two of the best guys in the class that a lot of people seem to be behind, and it was starting to cook, but they went storyline ways with it a different way. So other than that, no. The only thing that I think most people might potentially criticize is how chalk it was, but that's pretty standard for them. And I'm not too opposed to that, but here's why. If this was an annual tournament and it was always the same year over year, then it'd be like, okay, guys, you might want to change it up. But it's like, sometimes we go 4 years without one of these. So I think it's okay for them to kind of just stick by the traditions of it. And that is very New Japan booking of Young Lions. Like, it's rare that we even get a moment in a Young Lion match that steps outside of the formula or expectations of what these guys do. I don't know why a tournament would be full of twists and turns and upsets. Like, there's a hierarchy, you know?
Yeah. Overall, I enjoyed the tournament. I do just wish there was more guys available for it. And kind of like you mentioned last week, you know, had they brought in some other companies, Young Lions, or like, you know, some of those guys that get from the Frontier Zone, or like, you know, some of those guys that were like trying to get tryout matches. If you just had some other guys that they could like beat instead of them just getting buys into the next round.
Hook in.
Brought who?
Hook. You're a Young Lion in there and need some experience, you know?
Oh, man. But yeah, they should have brought some other guys in there. But besides that, yeah, I thought the single elimination format was good. You know, the right guys went over. They had a storyline wrinkle, like you mentioned, with Nagai and Zane J. So overall, really good tournament. And yeah, I think the next step for these guys are probably Excursion. I don't know where they go. We've seen a lot of domestic excursions lately of guys, you know, going to Noah or just kind of joining a faction and staying around. So,
well, it looks like, based on what I was seeing today, maybe I'm not as clued in, but it looks like Murashima is going to Europe. I don't know if that means to the UK or to Germany. I'm going to assume because it said Europe, it looks like it's probably going to be like similar to Knockout Brothers, which is exactly what I predicted would happen. But where there was a little bit of a twist was, I believe that they actually put out a tweet earlier today or the day before that Shomakato was going to Mexico, and then it got deleted. And I don't know where this information came from, but it was in our Discord today that he's going to Dragon Gate. So he's not going to Mexico apparently, which I thought Mexico made all the sense in the world for a guy his build, his style, and you know, the kind of great base that he could be. But it looks like he's going to Dragon Gate. Unless that's incorrect info, that's what was in our Discord. So I didn't follow up on it. I just took it at face value. It was like, okay, these guys usually know what they're talking about. So,
all right. So now Hook needs to be in the no-gate, mixing up the Chonko. He entered his way into the ring, 500 squats as soon as he wakes up. But yeah, I mean, Dragon Gate would be a cool destination for Shomakato. Learn that speed. A lot of great guys come out of the Dragon Gate system. So that would be a unique excursion there. And I think he would pick up on a lot of skills that would help him out a lot. And Murashima going over to Germany or Europe in general, we saw it worked out for Knockout Brothers. So hopefully he gets on that WXW and maybe get some Rev Pro stuff in there. And that could be good for him.
He needs to call Mercedes and figure out where she went
Spain
to win all those titles. She got the lay of the land, you know?
Yeah. So next matchup, we had Unbound Company of Gato and the Knockout Brothers defeating Shota Umino, Tiger Mask, and Yuya Uemura in 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So part of the final build here to the upcoming tag team title match.
Honestly, I thought the show, and this is going to kind of just echo my sentiments about a lot of this show and today's undercard. What I felt like we saw a lot of was a great fiery crowd, a lot of excitement, and because they're in Korakuen and it's the final like build, you know, and send off leading up to the big shows, people had their working boots on and were working really hard, but there wasn't a lot of storyline progression on these shows. Like this was kind of more or less your classical preview tags, almost up and down the board, except for obviously like the last 3 singles matches that we're going to get to for today's show. But, you know, I thought the action was good. I felt like everybody's working really hard. This match in particular wasn't like blow away, but we know how heated the rivalry has been between the Knockout Brothers and what's Umino and Uemura's name? Is that official?
Rough Storm.
Is that like real or no?
That's what Cage Match has been listing them as. I think they might have said it like in a backstage promo. I don't know if that's like their, I don't know.
Well, we'll adopt it. So Rough Storm and Knockout Brothers. I thought that this did a good job like building to it, but you know, there wasn't too many like angles other than even some just like post-match and pre-match like brawling basically for up and down the card, which not that they need to have heavy, angles, but I would have thought maybe some kind of just sprinkled in there a little bit on these shows. And we didn't get a lot of that.
Yeah. So KOB pick up the win here. They hit the KOB on Tiger Mask, which was a little surprising, having Gato on one side of the ring. He was not eating the fall. So Gato and KOB got the win here. And one interesting note from this match, we did see the first workings of the Unbound Company logo. So Gato was wearing the one of the shirts there, and we had a question here from Death Triangle 720. Thoughts on Unbound Company merch? It looks very generic, especially for a new group that is replacing two merch machines in LIJ and Bullet Club.
Two thoughts. Number one, they need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
This is very reminiscent. I don't know if you guys ever saw the original Bullet Club shirt, but it's not the classic skull and bone shirt that everyone associates with the brand. It's some generic, some generic ass shit. And this kind of was reminiscent of that for me. The other thing too is I don't know that Unbound Company is long for this world. And what I mean by that is like reports are coming out that a lot of these guys that were associated with War Dogs are probably on their way out, which has been speculated for a long time. And it very much feels like Unbound Company as a group is a stopgap to whatever potentially is coming next, because there's going to be an exodus from the group. Now, I don't know if that means necessarily that there won't be an Unbound Company. They may just stay Unbound Company, but the face of the group and the structure is going to change. Or this might just be a transitionary name to, hopefully it's just LIJ, like new LIJ, whatever the fuck.
The new.
But if I am wondering if they were just like, we don't want to spend too much money on this shit because we don't even know if we're going to stick with this name. You know what I mean? Like they just like, they probably put in like a ChatGPT prompt. We're like, hey, this is what we're thinking. Can you design me some shit?
I don't know, man. ChatGPT is like pretty high, high edge nowadays. Like that was, they pull out like the Microsoft, word art and then Paint. It was like, yeah, let me find like some cheap, handcuff image, and there we go. Like, yeah, it was not great. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with the group. I mean, even though a lot of like the Western guys will believe, you still have Knockout Brothers, Ishimori, Gato, Robbie X. It seems like there's still going to be a lot of Bullet Club guys still linked with the group for now. So,
yeah, but I mean, come on, like, let's be real here. Knockout Brothers just came in. They don't even really feel like they're Bullet Club. You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't feel like Unbound Company. They feel like their own shit. They never felt like War Dogs.
Right, yeah.
And Robbie X is like, he's a great guy. I'm not demeaning him by any. In fact, I got a lot of praise for Robbie X on these two cards here, but he's a guy that's like, anytime that they've brought someone in, they're like, hey, just throw this fucking shirt on here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ishimori and Geto are like the only two remaining dudes from like Bullet Club. And you know how I feel about domestic guys even being part of the Bullet Club. Like, we're going to have mostly domestic talent in whatever this Unbound Company or whatever the successor name is going to be. So it's like Bullet Club truly is dead.
Yeah. And we had a question here from Just Little Bear 01. Given how more heelish they are than the rest of the Unbound, what do you think the likelihood of the Knockout Brothers jumping to United Empire or House of Torture is?
I don't know that it would be those two groups necessarily, though I get what you're saying, because those are right now primarily the two most prominent heel groups. I do think that there could potentially be something to the idea that they don't stick around with this group long term, but I'm not even closed off to the idea that Some of them is bound for company. All right. I'm not necessarily discounting the idea that they join a new group that's non-existent up to this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which comes with a similar question that we have from Def Frank 720. Do you think KOB may just leave Unbound Company if they were to form their own group? And which, kind of like you mentioned, yeah, it does feel like KOB are kind of their own thing. And I think that, yeah, they could stand alone outside of Unbound Company. I think the way New Japan works, it is kind of a faction system. So I think they would need a couple more people to ride with them. But yeah, I could see them doing their own thing if things with Unbound Company don't work out. And yeah, I don't see them joining United Empire. I think United Empire is kind of set right now with the relaunch they did this year. And then House of Torture, yeah, I would definitely not have them go there.
Watch Knockout Brothers get so big that they don't even fucking need a faction. There's just going to be like Sean and Diesel out here in this shit. You know what I mean? Just like, we're tag champs and we got the global and the IWGB. Fuck y'all.
Yeah. So next matchup, we had TMDK team of Hartley Jackson, Kosei Vegeta, Roy Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr., defeating Bishamon, Bolton Oleg, and Rich Kaguchi in 9 minutes and 42 seconds. So part of the final build going into the Never 6-man title rematch coming up in New Beginning in Osaka, and also a preview for the following night where there would be singles matches between those 6 guys.
Good little preview. Missed me with the ass play.
Yeah, we got rid of Evil next to Gucci. Oh man, yeah. They did the whole anime thing where Kosei Vegeta had his hand in the gun, sticking his finger in Taguchi's butt, but yeah, not my kind of pro wrestling. But TMDK got the win here, and we had a question from Ginger and Fringer. Is this the best trios titles have been booked in years? Instead of having teams like House of Torture compete for them, we got 2 teams made up of 6 great to amazing wrestlers. Who's one other trio you would like to see compete for them? And yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good booking since the last kind of super team we had with Ishii, Goto, and Yoshihashi. They had a great run during the pandemic with the Never 6-man titles, and then obviously the Tanahashi, Okada, Ishii team. They had a good run with some really great opponents. So yeah, since then, yeah, it's been the House of Torture muck with those guys. It's kind of being a revolving door, and so yeah, it's kind of getting back to a really solid booking here. So yeah, I like what's going on with these 2 teams, and I mean, there's so many other units that could come in there. I mean, United Empire has a bunch of guys. You could do like a Hanare, Great Okan, Jake Lee team. You can do some teams, other teams from Hantai. Like, there's a great combination. You got Taichi, Ishii, Kojima. Like, there's a lot of great trios that are kind of rolling around within these bigger factions that would be good to get in the mix as well. Yeah,
speaking of Hanare, how fucking stiff has that dude been on this story?
Yeah, definitely laying it in, getting his stuff in.
I do mean the wrestling. I don't mean that as a euphemism. I mean, he's beating people up,
Yeah. King of Evil, TK Watanabe, says he liked the question because it also ties into his, which is, how would you shuffle up the current faction face-off for the next set of feuds? Example, you've got Hantai versus House of Torture, TMDK versus Goto Revolution Army, Unbound Company versus UE currently.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a very interesting question because it supposes that they're going to move on from some of the, typically they do tend to focus primarily coming out of Wrestle Kingdom on faction warfare. That's like pretty standard. And then it starts to feel like as we go into the tournament season, we move a little bit away from that until obviously like the like middle part of the year, like May, June, July, as we're like getting ready for Wrestle Kingdom, or I'm sorry, for G1. So I'm assuming the idea here is that like we would set some of this up, probably hypothetically speaking, as like a fictional book, or we'd set some of this up probably during like New Japan Cup, but it'd probably really start to blossom as we head into like Dominion season. How would you switch this? Like what's an appealing, and just assuming that we're keeping, we're not creating new factions here. We're just keeping the factions we have. What would you like to see happen here?
I think I would like to see United Empire versus Hantai. Get some interesting matchups there. Also, always
keep them as like very evil going up against like the baby faces.
Yeah, get you another Ishii Hanare match out of there, something like that. And then I think I would do TMDK against Unbound Company.
So we're going towards like Zack and Tsuji again.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you get you could do like Shingo against Harley Jackson, Oiwa versus Shingo, Oiwa versus who else is an Unbound Company? Whoever is staying in that group, Oiwa. You can do Oiwa and Tsuji. So I think there's some interesting stuff you can do there.
And then I feel like House of Torture just needs to, just kind of go away.
Yeah.
But it feels like, we'll get to it. We'll get to the preview, but I don't, it seems like they're going to go with Narita, which is like Aaron Wolf boy, you might be doing a JOB. You never know.
So the next matchup we had Great Okan, Hanare, and Zane J defeating Daiki Nagai, Drilla Maloney, and Robbie X. So this was building up to the upcoming War Dragons, Drilla and Shingo versus Okan and Hanare. With Shingo's currently out on the tour with injured ribs. We'll be back.
That man's not injured. He's on his honeymoon, bro. Come on.
I heard that Natsupoi has the ice pack on, taking good care of him. So Shingo will be back for the tag match. So Drilla kind of here to do the solo build. They flew Robbie X in as the replacement for Shingo. And pretty good match to build a heat up here.
Robbie X, kind of like the new Doki, huh? Wrestling like you don't want to go back.
Bro, every time that man steps in cork, and this is the Rich Lad of pro wrestling right here. This man's flipping, flopping all over the place. Like, he just works super, super hard and does some really cool stuff. Yeah, I'm always impressed with him.
Yeah, he's so good right now that he's somewhat really kind of revitalized my investment into Ishimori. That's not to say Ishimori's not great. He's always great, obviously. But it's like we've done the same stuff with him for so many years. Like, we're literally almost coming up on a decade of Ishimori in the same spot, same shit, doing the same things. This tag team is really like fresh, and he is having to show out and show what he can do athletically to kind of compensate and keep up with Robbie X. So I'm liking it.
Yeah, so good stuff here. Hanare, actually, I think was it Zane J who picked up the win here? No, yeah, it was Hanare. Yeah, Hanare ended up pinning Daiki Nagai to get the win.
Zane J in the green and black.
Yeah, looking good. So we had a question here from HP Brad Villoria. Do you think we're getting close to? Actually, nope. That's from the next matchup. Actually. So yeah, that was it for that match. So next matchup is Aaron Wolf, Master Wato, Toriano, and Yo defeated the House of Torture. So continue build for Aaron Wolf and Ren Narita, and then the big upset here we had Master Wato pinning Doki and setting himself up in line for the IWGP Junior title.
Yep, like Hogan. He's not fucking around. He came here to wrestle. He wants the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title.
Now that leads into the question from HB Brad Valoria. Do you think we're getting close to Grand Master Wato? How would you book his first title run if you had the pen?
He wins the title, and then he drops that shit to Fujita quick. Like, I'm talking quick. You know what's funny though is I saw some chatter online about people talking about the disconnect between like Western fan base and, the domestic fan base and people in the building. And, there were those who were like, it's amazing how much Watto, merchandise you see and how ardent the fans are, especially like the females, for Watto and everything like that. Now, I can't really concur about any of that because I didn't notice any Watto love when I was in Tokyo. Like, that's just me. Like, we went to a couple New Japan shows. I didn't see no, Watto love or gimmicks or shirts or I didn't see people walking around with Watto on their shoulder and shit. You know what I mean? But people say that he is loved, like really, really, really loved, like an underground sensation, like Tai Chi. But I think they got the opportunity to prove it, to see what kind of support he's going to get against this dastardly heel Doki. So,
yeah, I thought he had some good crowd reactions here this night. And it seemed like the crowd was pretty excited for him to pin Doki. He ended up hitting him with the pipe and then hits his big German suplex to get the win.
I think he always gets good reactions. This is not me like saying like, oh, he's a geek and people don't know what they're talking about. Like, but I feel like there's like this fan base that like they're trying to will him. They're like trying to make Watto happen. You know what I mean? And yeah. I'm like, we'll see. I don't know. I'm not counting him out entirely. There have been times where we've been pretty close to counting out Watto, not even because of him necessarily, although there's been some lackadaisical, some sort of like there've been some periods where he's gotten a little complacent, but I don't fully blame him because every single time he gets a little bit of momentum and he gets support from the fans or he wins Super Juniors or it looks like now's the time to pull the trigger, they don't go with the guy. And that's a failing of booking, and I don't know if that's because they see him as a chaser, the classic chaser, the guy that can't ever win the big one. I don't know. But I'm not convinced he's winning this one either.
Yeah, the problem is his nickname. He's away the Grand Master, so they're just going to keep booking him on the way and never get him there.
Yeah, that's fine, but like I'm the young boy and I'm fucking over his shit. Like you would think I'd graduate to something by now, but it's been a decade and this gimmick's working for me. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I like Watto, but yeah, I feel like, after that awesome final match of Teton, like that was a prime moment to go with him and give him a little run, and they did not do that. And yeah, it seems like they're kind of going behind Doki and kind of using him. I don't know if things with House of Torture and how that changes will change up this title run, but I would be in favor of Watto beating him. But there are a lot more interesting guys, like you mentioned. There's Kosei Vegeta, Francesco Akira is getting really hot right now. So I don't like. Now does not seem like the right time for a long Watto run.
The lore that's been established really centers on Watto and Desperado.
Yeah.
But Desperado shouldn't be a guy that is winning the title and then turning. I guess as a second resort, this isn't the worst thing in the world. But they'll if he were to win the title, then you would hope that the next step would be him fighting Desperado and overcoming Desperado and really establishing himself. But what he needed to have done is been the guy that beat Desperado to unseat him for the title, whether that was this most recent title run or one of the other numerous title runs that Desperado had. And now we've moved away from that. And it's like, yeah, they're doing him and Doki. Now, these guys do have history going back to like when Doki first broke in and when Watto first returned from excursion during, like, when was that? That was like during the Jingu Stadium shows, like early on in the pandemic. And this was like the first guy he feuded with and was trying to beat and everything. But you have to have a long memory to like really be engaged in that story. And it's not like these guys have continuously been crossing paths, clashing in a meaningful way. I'm sure that they've had a lot of matches, but it's not like the same way that people are like at one point were really clamoring. They're like, we really love this Doki this Desperado and Watto story. They're not friends and he hates him, but now he's accepting him and blah, blah, blah. Like there's a whole big backstory there. and they failed to pull the trigger and really ever get back to that whole thing. And there was a lot of matches that circulated, like the 4-way, the mixed tag, like all that shit that they were doing during Clap Crowd era. And I don't know. I don't know that I love the idea that, I guess if you're going to do it, like at this point, Wato is going to look very much like a geek if he fails to win the title again. But it kind of sucks because he probably should have won it a long time ago, and it should have been against Desperado.
Yeah. And that led to a similar question from Defrango 720. Do you think Wato will finally win the junior title? And yeah, I hope that. I mean, at this point, if he's challenging, yeah, I think he should win. However, like I said, I do think, like, yeah, Fujita, Akira, some other options that are heating up that I don't know if you give him a super long reign right now.
It feels like Challenger of the Month energy.
Yeah. Especially since, like, the New Beginning and Osaka card's kind of already set, so I don't know if it's going to get added to that card, or if it's just going to main event whatever Korakuen comes afterwards. It feels like, yeah, very much, yeah, this is just a stopgap until, yeah, Doki's real big bad challenger comes out. So next matchup here, we had Unbound Company team of David Finlay and Hiromu Takahashi defeating United Empire team of Callum Newman and Jacob Austin Young. So we had United Empire coming out first, and Finlay came out of the curtains attacking Newman, and we had a big brawl all throughout the arena, and then they finally got in the ring. And so that's one thing about this United Empire Unbound feud, which kind of bled over from the end of last year. Like, it does get very intense, and like especially when it surrounds Finlay and Newman. I think they have a lot of great brawling and heat when those guys are mixing it up.
I'm glad to see the continuation. I know for you, your favorite iteration of like a tag team that came out of this Unbound Company alliance is War Dragons.
Yeah.
I like David Finlay throwing Hiromu around like a lawn dart. I like that shit. And I like Hiromu getting pissed about it and then trying to turn the tables and do that on David Finlay. Like, I also think it's funny that if allegedly these two guys are on their way out, right? They're like, no, yob. We're fucking going over. You know? But this is probably them getting some momentum to probably, if they're leaving, probably do some jobs on the way out here very soon in in Osaka.
Yeah. So yeah, good match. They pick up the win, and post match they're kind of arguing. Hiromu's like arguing and yelling at him because he's tired of Finlay throwing him around. It's like, you said you would stop. So that's all that was funny.
Like, that's like a couple where it's like, you told me you were going to change.
Yeah.
Here you are doing the same old shit you've always done.
And then the main event, we had United Empire's Francesco Akira and the Silent Jester, Jake Lee, defeating the Unbound Company team of Taiji Ishimori and Yota Tsuji in 1932.
This man Tsuji cannot catch a fucking break. Job after job after job after job, bro.
Yeah, man. Been on the losing end.
Big win for Francesco Akira here.
Yeah, and so Akira, he's been on this mission of, beating the big three, beating Hiromu, Ishimori, Desperado. And also, we know there's a big story there of him and Desperado. So yeah, big win here over Ishimori on this night. So yeah, Akira's looking really good.
Kendrick's on that, or Francesco's on that. Kendrick, he's like, ain't no big three. There's just big me.
Yeah, post match, Despy was on commentary, and Akira was jaw-jacking at him too. So they're definitely going to be building towards that match, probably maybe in Super Juniors again. But yeah, I thought Akira looked really good, and I gotta say, man, I'm liking Jake Lee's presentation, what he's doing, and we've kind of saying that. Really great, interview they did up with him on the English YouTube channel, kind of explaining his motivations for joining United Empire. And I don't know, I'm liking the mannerisms, the whole silent gesture thing, and just kind of being like this kind of silent maniac. I don't know, it's working for me.
Yeah, I was interested to get your perspective because, like, we did the show last week, obviously, but there wasn't anything really to review, and you were out during the majority of those road twos where he was kind of just sunning Tsuji every night, and so I was interested to kind of get your perspective on things. I agree. Obviously, I've said similar sentiments over the past few weeks, but I do got to say this: while this match wasn't bad by any means for a really good road to in Korakuen, I kind of expected a little bit more out of a main event. And this didn't really hit necessarily my expectations of what a main event preview tag for like the world title should look like.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed the matchup. I think Tsuji and Jake Lee had some good exchanges, and they're building kind of the story around his that big knee that he does with the midsection that took Shingo out, and his face break shot, and so I thought that was built up well. And then also the Akira and Ishimori, they're building up to a tag match coming up with Akira and Jake Watson Young versus Ishimori and Hiromu, and so I thought that the interaction between them was good as well.
No, I agree. I think all of that is accurate and apt, but here's where I diverge a little bit is this would be a really good Korakuen Hall match, second, like semi-main event or third from the top with some sort of hook at the top of the card, like what they did on the second night. Mm-hmm. This didn't feel to me like the main event of the evening. And I feel like if it's going to be the main event, it doesn't have to be like a match of the year candidate, but we're kind of becoming a tag team promotion. You got to step it up just a bit more. And I do think it's a little bit incumbent on them. Obviously, well, at the same time, the tickets are sold, but there are some people that aren't as gung-ho or as high on the match itself. And I feel like to really ramp things up, this was a great opportunity for them to just give a little bit more. And they didn't really go that way. I was also kind of interested. I thought it was interesting how Jake Lee put all those beatdowns on Tsuji to get the match. But once he got the match, the beatdowns have they're gone.
Yeah, he played him.
So I don't know if that's, trying to get into the storyline, like kind of mindset. Is that is that a failing of him to not keep his foot on the gas when it comes to pushing this guy? Or is it kind of smart? Like you said, like he played him, like he already got what he wanted. He doesn't need to do anymore. Or, I'm just kind of interested how people are perceiving that aspect of it. Maybe it's a failing of Jake Lee, where it's like, he's not able to fully follow through on what's needed to kind of get in the head of Tsuji here.
Yeah. So yeah, they get the win post-match. They're kind of the promo, and Akira makes a connection of him and Jake Lee being in All Japan together, and he sets his sights down who he's coming for next in the junior division. So that was that. We have a couple questions here. Let's go 7252. Do you think we get a United Empire clean sweep, even in the main event at New Beginning?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But we'll give our full predictions next week. Is there any twists or turns you think will happen at New Beginning?
The break off of guys like Gabe Kidd and David Finley and probably Drilla and
yeah, it's gonna be the last night for a lot of guys, I think.
I don't even know if that's 100% confirmed. I don't know how much longer, because here's the one thing. Granted, I don't love the poaching that has taken place between both WWE and AEW. Obviously, New Japan is kind of caught in the crossfire and is like a lot of wrestling around the world, sort of a casualty of the arms race between those two companies.
Yeah.
But the one thing that is good that AEW does that WWE does not do is they do allow guys to finish out their contracts or even work a few extra dates that might be needed to wrap stories up. Now, does that mean that we're for sure going to see something like come out of all this? Maybe not. We just saw like Evil just unceremoniously like dip from the company without an announcement. But I feel like it would be wise for the company to instead of Unbound Company just being this thing, it's like, all right, well, we announced it, we're all together, and now guys are dipping, and there's no resolution, there's no finality, there's no closure. It's just gonna, we're cutting the fat, we're moving on. Yeah, that's fine. But it would be much better if there was an angle showcasing, and because they've already teased the tension, they've already teased the guys with the looks and everything, that there be some sort of strife and then a blow off, even if it just takes place within the New Japan Cup. I'm not talking about like that it doesn't necessarily have to be a dog pound steel cage match. It doesn't necessarily have to be a huge major thing, but I would love to see at least one tour where these guys split whoever it is that's splitting off. Or even if it's not a full faction, maybe it's just the guys that are leaving. They turn on the group and then they feud with their three counterparts or however many it is, and then blow it off, because you want to make money off of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's similar in a sense to like when Finn Balor, when Prince Devitt was leaving New Japan, he didn't just one day walk out. They kind of knew what was coming. They started teasing the dissension within the Bullet Club. He had the final blow off feud with Taguchi, and then he got, jumped out of the Bullet Club by the Young Bucks, and that was his final night. That's fine. Like that's about as much as they probably need to settle things with guys like Gabe Kidd, David Finlay, if he's leaving, reportedly probably Clark Connors, people like that. Drilla, if he goes, I don't know if he's decided what he's doing, but yeah.
Yeah. And then next question here.
That's my prediction. My prediction is those guys splitting off. And you know what? If hypothetically, now I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if Jake Lee were to win the title, I do see it being someone like David Finlay or like Gabe Kidd costing him that shit, which is very Western wrestling. And it's not quite like New Japan style, but it's not entirely unfair. Like I'll never forget, obviously, that moment. It's a different storyline, but that moment when Kenny, distracted Coda in the AJ match, like people still talk about that to this day. That's 11 years ago.
Yeah. Next question, Def Triangle 720. From an in-ring standpoint, do you think Tsuji and Lee have good chemistry so far before the title match?
I think so, but I don't think that. Here's the thing. You just really can't. It's really hard to tell just from preview tags, because they are just preview tags, and the way that they're structured and the way that you can hide a lot. Now, sometimes you can see there are some guys that when they lock up in a preview tag, it's dynamite, and you're like, holy shit, they've got, an example would be like Okada and Tanahashi the first few times they locked up in like 2012, or like remember the times when like Hiromu and Will Ospreay would like touch in those multi-man tags, and you're like, oh shit, these guys they're gonna tear the house down. It's not like that yet. I think what they've showcased so far is very good, but I've seen a lot of preview tag matches. I'll give you an example. There was a lot of preview tags in the past where Zack Sabre Jr. and Shota Umino looked like they were going to have a fire ass match. And then they walked into the dome and they did not have that.
Yeah. So based off of what we've seen on the tag, I like the chemistry, but yeah, it's going to have to be when the bell rings come Osaka. Yeah, there's not going to be another, there's not going to be tag partners there. It's not going to be a tag 6-man, 10-man. Like, it's going to be straight one-on-one. There's only so much smoke and mirrors you could do. So yeah, Jake Lee is really going to have to step it up, and also Tsuji. I mean, a mark of a great world champion is being able to carry somebody who's not the greatest. So I think it's a big test for both guys.
It is a huge for both guys. You're absolutely right. The way that you I would love to reiterate everything you said, but it's not needed. You're dead on there. Like it's a true test for both guys.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We had the next night of Road to New Beginning, which was today, Monday, February 2nd, attendance of 1,073. Show opened up, we had Masatori Asuda, Shota Umino, and Yuya Uemura defeating Daiki Nagai and the Knockout Brothers. So Umino and Uemura finally get some momentum in this rivalry.
Another good preview tag, and it's a little early for previews, but I mean, I haven't been too silent about this. I've been saying it for a while. I think Umino and Uemura I think the story is set up perfectly for them to capture these tag titles, and I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, they did need to at this point. This will be the third time they're facing these guys now and have not been able to beat them. So yeah, I think the story is set up for them to get the win.
Is it the third? I thought it was only the second, but I could be mistaken.
I think Osaka will be the third time I think they are facing each other. I think
I would go to Cage Match and double check, but I don't care. So you're right. It's 3. I think it's 2, but it's probably 3.
And then next up, we had Aaron Wolf, Master Wato, Toriano, and Yo defeating the House of Torture. So continued Aaron Wolf and Rita build. And one thing that I wanted to mention, they did a great job. Well, Charlton's been doing a great job on commentary mentioning, Narita's been going after the knee and talking about how there's no, leg holds in judo. So that's kind of the weakness for Aaron Wolf. And so every night, Narita's been putting him in that knee bar and been attacking the knee. So I've been liking that story.
With that being said, I'm not seeing anything new from Aaron Wolf in these preview tags. But, it rings very familiar to like what we were saying leading up into the Tokyo Dome, and they deliver there.
Yeah.
So, you know what this might be for a little bit? It might be because I'm watching him in these multi-man tags, right? And he's not doing anything very different than what we did fundamentally at like Sideshow Dojo. He's getting in there. He's got a couple big moves. They've got a few spots laid out, like a 1, 2, 3, series of chain spots. And then he's selling a lot. And it is good because he's getting the reps and he's getting the rhythm of things and the timing, and he's getting different sort of experiences in front of different crowds. But I'm noticing that for the entirety of this tour, every time he's in there with Ren Narita, he's doing the same stuff. Mm-hmm. He is showing good fire. He's got good facials. I'm not even too critical about it. It's just the stuff he's doing, it's a little basic-y, but it's working for him. But it is the same every single night. And what I'm assuming is probably happening is the same way that it's very much assumed that the Evil match was highly choreographed and prepped and everything. I wonder if that's what they got him and Ren Narita doing. And maybe that's going to be the formula is these big singles matches. That's where we're really, really, really working. And then on the road twos, you're just going to kind of wing it. You're going to be a young lion. You're going to learn in the ring. Except for he's not even working young lion style. What he's working is a much more rudimentary style to some extent. It's closer to Western style wrestling, because what the best way I can describe it is if this was America, and I know it's not America where he's wrestling, but it's very similar to what he's doing. The veterans would probably come to someone like him and be like, all right, give me your 3 best things that you could do. And he would tell them, and they're all right, so here's how we're going to lay it out. Cause that's what it feels like is happening is they're like, all right, you're going to do the body slam. You're going to do the hip toss. You're going to do the blah, blah. And then you're going to settle down for a while and we're going to beat your ass. That's kind of what is, we're going to attack your leg. That's feeling like what's happening here is he's got the 1, 2, 3 chains. He's got the elbows and he fires up, but that's about it. Whereas the Young Lions, they're not doing that. The Young Lions, their matches are so grapple heavy and chain based. And we haven't seen him do that before. That's
true. Yeah. It's been all kind of the body slam, the judo throw, the hip toss. I like his running elbow drop thing that he's been doing.
Yeah. And he does but if you notice what I'm saying is like the stuff he's doing is more classic Western style pro wrestling.
Yeah.
It's big moves, big elbow drop, big forearms, fire up, run the ropes. But he's not doing like the small, nuanced young lion stuff. And maybe that's just because like even though he's technically a young lion, he's already past them in terms of the status. They're like, we can't have this guy going out there, exchanging Boston crabs and doing sit outs and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's interesting, but I'm just speculating. No one said anything to me, but I bet you what's happening here is they're doing what I just said is like, give me your 3 things. Here's your spots. Here's when you tag in. Here's when you tag out, blah, blah, blah. You're just getting reps. And then behind closed doors, they're probably working on a match between him and Ren Narita. And that might be the formula for a little while for someone like him is like, we're going to lay these out until he's ready to start like calling it in the ring and everything like that.
Yeah. Wato gets the win here. Vendaval on Dick Togo and gets in the face of Doki afterwards. So once again, building up some momentum here for Wato.
I saw someone say that this is the Naomi finisher. Did she also do the Vendaval?
Something similar, yeah.
I saw someone like call it the Naomi finisher. It's like, that sucks to be called the Naomi finisher.
Next matchup, we had Cal Newman, Francisco Akira, and Jacob Austin Young defeating Dave Finley, Gato, and Hiromu in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So we had Unbound Company tagging from the bell, brawling all throughout the floor, all up and down the bleachers, and then led into the match.
Yeah, some of the most heated stuff. And I thought that from the prior night, and I forgot to mention this, I thought that the Hiromu David Finley tag match was the best match of that evening, personally. And I thought that this was slotted right in the right place as far as like being the final lead up to these, special singles matches that we got here at the tail end. And it combined the best of the top 2 programs from the night prior. Obviously it's the same feud, but we not only did we get what's going on right now with I apologize. I've worked too long today. For some reason I was thinking that these 2 matches got combined into one and they didn't. So never mind.
You thought they did a Heyman special?
No, I just thought that for some reason in my mind, because like I watched this like not that long ago and I've been working all day. I just thought that this was like a 10-man tag and everybody was like combined into one. And I was like, yeah, we got the Tsuji feud and we got the David Finley feud, but like we didn't. That's not accurate.
But there were multiple feuds though with Newman and Finley, and then Akira and Jacob Austin Young are going against Hiromu and Ishimori.
Yes, that's true. And again, I thought that similar to the night prior, of the 2 big UE versus Unbound Company matches, I thought that this one was a little bit better than the one involving Tsuji and Jake Lee from, that followed it.
Yeah. And Akira got the win here for his new finisher, the Crown Fall, pinning Hiromu Takahashi. And speaking of Hiromu, breaking news from New Japan Pro Wrestling, Hiromu Takahashi to leave. They say thank you for supporting New Japan Pro Wrestling. After careful consideration and discussions with NJPW management, Hiromu Takahashi, who has been a long-standing member of the NJPW roster, will leave New Japan Pro Wrestling. We apologize to fans of the sudden nature of this announcement. Hiromu's final scheduled appearance with NJPW will be at the New Beginning in Osaka on February 11th. New Japan Pro Wrestling wishes Hiromu the very best in his future activities,
future endeavors,
and invites fans to show their support on his remaining appearances with NJPW.
Naito, he's a black hole, bro. Just sucks everybody into his orbit, dude. You know what's funny is like this company was the Naito verse. Like even though House of Torture and Just Five Guys and all that shit was like, his parejas or whatever. it really was for a long time, just like everybody orbiting, him. And now he's gone. All his boys are gone. And I don't think it's a coincidence that as great as LIJ was and as great an act it was and as much business as they did, suddenly people are talking about, New Japan's mollywopping the rest of the wrestling industry. Things are looking good. We're so back. I don't think it's any sort of coincidence. It's all coinciding with Evil's gone. Sonata's gone. Naito's gone. Bushi's gone. See ya, Hiromu. Makes sense to me.
Oh, man. But yeah, we kind of touched about our thoughts on Hiromu leaving last week, but this was kind of expected. And overall, I mean, I think it's going to be a good thing for the company. Also, he was top draw for the junior division, face of the division for a very long time, beloved by the fans. But, he has kind of grown stale with him not wanting, or at least the reports, some outlets saying that, he did not want to go to heavyweight. So there's only so much stuff that he can do in junior. So if he wasn't going to go heavyweight or do more open weight stuff, it's like kind of like, all right, what are we going to do here?
We'll probably talk more about Hiromu in the future, but my immediate knee-jerk reaction to that news just dropping on the air is, if you weren't around for this guy coming back from excursion and that first 6-month run and beyond that, but those first 6 months, fuck, bro, that was that was a time where it was like, damn, we got a fucking star on our hands here, right? Like, this guy's incredible.
Yeah.
Kushida, who? It's all about Hiromu, dog.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely an awesome run. Also, the matches with Dragon Lee, that great rivalry that spilled over from Mexico. So, yeah, Hiromu's definitely had some great stuff. And so, overall, I mean, a lot of great moments, a lot of great matches, but I do think that he's grown stale, and it will help open up some room in the junior division. So moving on to the next matchup, another Unbound United Empire match. We had Drilla Maloney, Robbie X, Ishimori, and Yota Tsuji defeating Great Okan, Hanare, Jake Lee, and Zane J in 10:25, with Drilla Maloney hitting the Drilla Killa on Zane J.
Once again, nobody has ever kicked out of the Drilla Killa. And kudos to Yota Tsuji finally picking up a tag win in this series, because this guy's been getting the brakes beat off of him. So, good to see Unbound Company on top of things going into Osaka.
Yeah, and I think in this match, we did see a little bit more aggressive from Jake Lee, where they're rolling out into the crowd. He threw Tsuji through the door and was kind of attacking him after the match. So there was a little bit more of that. Like you mentioned, him kind of laying the beat down on Tsuji there.
We didn't talk about last week that incident at the festival parade.
Oh, the boat show.
Yeah, the boat show. They were fighting outside, and one of them, Jake Lee was trying to toss Tsuji over into the water over a barricade. That was kind of crazy. There was also, I think it was from a house show, a still of Jake Lee chasing Tsuji down the aisle.
I think he was chasing Hiromu.
Or I'm sorry, Hiromu. My bad. That's what I meant. Which that was fucking hilarious as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of gold from this series.
Yeah. So Unbound Company gets a much needed win. So Drilla gets some momentum going into his matchup with War Dragons versus Okan and Hanare. And we had a question here from MJ. Where do you think Drilla ends up? Can't imagine he's long for Unbound Company. And Death Triangle 720 says, do you think Drilla maybe teasing a turn? He seems like he's not rocking with the Unbound Company group.
Fuck y'all. This man is unbound for life. All right. War Dragons. And you know where he's bound for? He's bound
for glory
to be chased. Huh?
I said bound for glory.
He's not bound for glory. Well, maybe a type of glory, but not BFG. But he is bound to be challenging for the IWGP Tag Team Championship against Umino and fucking what's his name? Uemura. That's what's happening next.
Yeah, that possibly could be. Yeah, Four Dragons get the win over Hanare and Okan, and they just released some new War Dragon shirts. So you gotta think unless it's some Y2AJ, that Drilla will be around for a little bit longer.
I didn't like when you said they just released, because as soon as you said they just released, I got like the PTSD. Remember like when WWE used to, like, when the releases all started coming back to back, you're like, breaking news. I thought you were about to be like, also they did just released,
No.
There's a press release and this man's on his way out too. But
no, it's talking about the new War Dragon t-shirt.
No, I got you. I got nervous. I do wonder if this is somebody in Drilla that, like, the company is trying everything that they can to hold on to him, because it's been pretty clear over the last year or so that they've got aspirations to do something with him, even though they haven't pulled the trigger just yet. Like, they've been incrementally moving him up the card. They gave him like an early preliminary win over like Naito. They're building him up to the push that they're getting ready to go with. But, the big question is, how do we get there? If he does stay with the company, does he need to branch out and start his own group? Like, I think some of them, like Death Triangle was saying, like, he's not rocking with this group. And it is sort of like, if he sticks with Unbound Company, he's just a guy who's kind of gonna be under the tutelage of Yota Tsuji, and that's not really where he needs to be. He needs to be a guy that's like challenging for some of these upper titles, which probably means breaking out and going to another group. But very quickly, it's starting to feel like the rosters of these established, different groups are becoming pretty full.
Yeah, I don't know where else he would land if he were to leave Unbound Company. And this is kind of a problem, too, of like having Tsuji with a double title. It's like, I think him being global champion would be great, but that's kind of tied up with Tsuji right now. I guess you could all give him a never title run eventually, but then he would have to beat Aaron Wolf.
I know what they could do. There's a strong title.
Yeah. Have him beat Ishii. But I mean, I like that the temporary tag route, you kind of have him and Shingo. I think they would be great tag team champions, or great challengers. And you kind of keep him there for a little bit, and then I don't know. I think New Japan Cup and G1 are great opportunities to have him break out and elevate him.
Yeah, but my concern is, like, with New Japan, they're so reticent to pull the trigger on guys, and they really drag their feet, and they don't always have cohesive plans in place to give enough people the pushes that they're deserving of. And, I'll just give you an example here, and some people are not going to like this, and this is no shade on the guy, but it's like there's only so many spots for white dudes on the roster. And right now, the guy that they're really getting ready to, like, slot up and push up, especially if David Finlay's on his way out, like it's rumored, is Callum Newman. And is there going to be enough space for a Drilla Maloney when you're pushing a Callum Newman type guy further up the roster? My concern is what ends up happening is if Drilla sticks around, it's like, yeah, he goes for like a never title. Yeah, he has like a nice little like 4-5 or 5-4 run in the G1. But he's kind of just chilling. He's kind of languishing. He does some tag stuff. And they don't ever. And then obviously you got Oleg Boltin, and there's other like foreigners who are in the company. And there's only so many spots for like a top foreigner in a company like this. It is funny because New Japan always gets slack from Western fans. Like, how there's like those really gatekeepers, the elitists who are like, the issue with this company is they've relied too much on the white man. And it's like, there really isn't that many top foreigners pushed at the same time. There's usually 2 to 3 guys that are really pushed at the top level. Just ask ELP. He's never one of those guys.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Hanare. But you do have to kind of question from that standpoint. And this is us just talking kayfabe and a little bit of the book. We're not even kind of considering the money. We're also not considering like WWE and AEW and them looking at a guy with his build, his look, and what they might potentially be offering as well. So,
yeah. Moving on, we had the best of 3 series here between TMDK and the Goto Revolutionary Army. So first up, we had Bolton Oleg defeating Hartley Jackson in 12 minutes and 7 seconds. And man, what a match.
Yeah, when you say the best of 3, this was the best of 3 matches. Hartley Jackson and Oleg Bolton, those boys went to war. And, I know you're going to talk about it, but what a fucking bump on the outside into the orange, an all-time Korakuen moment. Yeah. Say what you will. I understand that there's probably some people that are going to look at like Hartley Jackson's career and be like, yeah, his crowning achievement was, winning that never 6-man in the Tokyo Dome. No. Don't get it twisted. This man's crowning achievement was flying into the orange chairs from the second level of Korakuen Hall. The real MVP in this match was the fans who were able to get themselves out of those chairs. Cause as I know firsthand, it's not easy to get out of those chairs.
Yeah. Those chairs they're tough to get out of. They moved pretty quickly, but yeah, so they started off, doing, kind of the test of strength shoulder blocks and kind of trying to knock each other over. And they started in the ring and they're like, all right, we need more running space. So then they went to the outside of the ring and we're running on the outside doing shoulder blocks. And they're like, that's not good enough. We need a longer runway. So then they both go up to the stairs, go up to the little hallway section there in the crowd of Korakuen, and they start, doing the battering ram shoulder blocks to each other there. Start exchanging big chops and blows, and then finally, like you mentioned, Bolton Oleg hits a big pounce and knocks Hartley Jackson over, pounces them into the orange chairs, and just a nasty looking bump, backlands right in the middle of an orange chair, and he's, falling to the floor there. And so just awesome looking bump, all time, like you mentioned, great Korakuen moment. Crowd loved it, and the crowd was firmly behind Hartley Jackson at the start of this match. And so that was a great way to get the crowd back in Bolton's favor. And Bolton just looked like a absolute monster with that pounce and knocking Hartley Jackson over into the orange seats. And so from there, they made their way back into the ring. Great exchanges of chops and power moves. Bolton working for the kamikaze throughout the match. He was able to hit a short range one for near fall. Another incredible spot. Bolton hits a belly suplex on Hartley Jackson. He does a top rope superplex to Hartley Jackson. So that was another great big bump there from Hartley. And then Bolton continues to fight for the kamikaze. You had Hartley Jackson hit a big Death Valley driver, which he calls a jagged edge, for a great near fall. And so these guys were just throwing big bombs, big moves at each other, big strikes. And Bolton Oleg was finally able to hit the full kamikaze to get the win. But man, what a matchup.
I remember watching this a few hours ago, back in the day, and just thinking to myself while I was watching it, how glad I was for this to be taking place in Japan and in Korakuen Hall and not in like Tacoma, Washington for AEW, because how fucking annoying would those meat chants be?
Meat.
That's one of those things where it's like, it was so cool when it happened that one time, and now it has to happen every time big guys fight each other. And I was just like, I'm so fucking glad. Can you imagine like if like Daisuke Sakamoto and like, Okabayashi and like some of these guys from like Big Japan had their matches, and then you got like annoying Western fans, meat. Suwama, locking up with Nagata and they're killing each other and they're like, meat.
Yeah.
But this match was honestly, it was fucking incredible. Like, I don't know. Do you think this is the best old Bolton match that we had so far?
No, I like the Takeshita match, the Never title match last year.
Yeah. That's true. But this wasn't that far off.
Right, it's right up there.
Right up there.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, I loved this. Of these three matches, the best. I was pulling. I like Oleg Boltin a lot, but I was pulling for Big Jag. I wanted him to get the upset.
Yeah, and so did Korakuen. they were rocking with him for a lot of the match, and but yeah, Boltin, kind of what we expected. Boltin gained the win here.
Not what we expected, because I was like, oh, if these two guys win, then this guy's winning, and if these two guys win, then this guy, and they went the laziest way. But yes, this was awesome.
Then the second matchup was Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Yoshihashi in 20 minutes and 14 seconds.
Of the three matches, I felt that this was the weakest, but that's no, that's not really a black mark against it. These were three stellar singles matches back to back to back. And I thought Yoshihashi showed a lot of fire going up against Zack. And it's nice that there's these little mini stories in the midst of like a trios feud. And the fact that like Yoshihashi has never beaten Zack, and he's like determined, to kind of get this monkey off his back and prove to everybody that he is capable of competing on that level, but he's not, and he can't beat Zack. And I liked the post-match comments where Zack's like, you're dreaming that someday you're going to be able to come and beat me. It's never fucking going to happen.
Yeah. This is really good. I felt like Zack was just on Yoshihashi all throughout this match, and, through all submission holds, and was really kind of eating him up. But, Yoshihashi would try to fight back. He worked over Zack's neck, a couple DDTs, the Karma, Kumagoroshi, got some great near falls. But, yeah, Zack just ate this man up. And
too much.
He was able to tie him up and get the verbal submission, and then that led to
made him say mate.
That led to the main event: Hiroki Goto defeating Roy Oiwa in 15:38. So kind of like we thought, it was going to go 1-1, and it was going to all come out to the final match. But so it was Goto here once again pinning Oiwa. So this is going to be kind of the big bad that Oiwa is going to have to conquer this year. It's Hiroki Goto.
I hate it. I hate this. I don't like it. Like, I understand that this type of booking has its time and place, and I'm not opposed to the idea that an established guy beats an up-and-comer to kind of create the chase. But, realistically, Jeremy, we've seen some instances where Ghetto's very good at laying these out and eventually paying them off. But sometimes the payoff isn't as good as it would have been if they just would have fucking beat him the first time. And sometimes they never get around to actually beating them. Case in point, Okada versus every young lion that was from the Next Generation, where you're like, oh, this guy's, how many times did he send people off an excursion or beat somebody, and you're like, oh, this is going to be generational. These guys are going to chase him. Or even like Will Ospreay. Like, Will Ospreay still hasn't fucking beat this dude. And it's going into a whole nother company. So that's kind of what I mean. It's like they slow roll some of this stuff. Honestly, the match was fantastic. It was great action. This is where I'm very torn, because this is where the match itself delivered, but I think it was the wrong call, because I feel Oiwa should have beat Goto here. Goto's like in his 40s, bro. And he also is kind of Teflon. He can afford to take the loss, and it will not affect him negatively one iota, especially since we're getting ready to go into New Japan Cup. And regardless of a loss here, he's still going to be favored. But Oiwa's a guy who, like, he's beaten a few people like Kenta and like Yoshihashi and things like that. But like, he's still sort of like lacking a signature win over a big guy. Mm-hmm. And this isn't a title match. This isn't a tournament match. This is just a preview singles. Like, remember and I feel like on this episode, I'm doing a lot of like member berries, like, remember when this happened? Remember, but like, remember when, it's not quite the same thing, but like even Zack Sabre Jr. heading into the Tokyo Dome one year was able to just take a random loss to Bushi.
Oh yeah.
And everyone's like, what the fuck? And he was fine after it. I feel like this was a situation where Oiwa could have gotten so much momentum beating Goto in a quasi meaningful manner. And then the next time the question is, does he have Goto's number, or is Goto going to put the beat down on this young fucking punk? Kind of similar to like when, and this is not quite the same thing, but like when Jumbo took the unexpected loss to Mizawa in 1990. And then afterwards he's like, oh, I can't fucking stand for this shit. At some point you got to have these young guys pick up wins.
Yeah.
And this was a prime opportunity, especially since like Goto just failed in a major title challenge. He's back in the tag division. Like it's not going to hurt him. I don't know. I felt like this is the bad call.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that Oiwa did not get the win. I was, kind of watching eagerly. The match was great. It was kind of a classic New Japan and main event style. Great feeling out period towards the beginning, and then, great exchanges, great lariats all throughout, and great counters of their moves. And, I was down the end, like, all right, it has to be Oiwa. Come on, hit that grip. And then he ends up getting hit with the GTR. I'm just like, man, like, it's kind of kept him at that level, and I'm hoping that he gets the win back. Like you mentioned, there are times where you think that's going to go that way and it doesn't, and so I'm hoping the finish of the 6-man match, the title match, it comes down again to Oiwa and Goto, and Oiwa gets finally pins up there and wins the title for the team that way.
That might be the payoff, but I feel like that is less. I'm perfectly fine with Bishamon and
Bolton
and Oleg Bolton holding on to the titles and retaining, but the silver lining for this TMDK group is like Oiwa got something out of it in the challenge. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because how valuable are these never 6-man tag team titles?
Yeah.
What's going to be more meaningful, that he's got the 6-man titles on his resume? And maybe he picked up a win over Goto in a multi-man tag team match, or I beat this man one-on-one, man-to-man, the old way,
Yeah.
Carl Gotch, George Hackenschmidt,
Yeah.
That style.
And if the closing stretch is going to be Goto and Oiwa, like, that would make it more exciting. Because, like, Oiwa just pinned him. Like, mm-hmm. there is a credible chance for this guy to pin him again and win the titles.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I know that there's no 100% right way to do everything. There's a time and place for any style of story you want to tell. I felt like they mistimed this one, honestly, especially since Oiwa has been in G1s now and still has failed to have any signature win of any sort. It just felt like they teed it up the right time. Like, here we go. And again, he failed. And they're not heartbreaking failures. They think the rub is making the kid look strong and being in there with some of the top guys, but there's nothing to invest into because he's not getting his heart broken and he's not winning. And you kind of need one or the other. You need this guy to kind of get demolished so you can sympathize with him so that he's vowing to come back and he has something to chase. Or he needs to go over and be like, holy shit, I fucking did it. But it's neither. It's just like this is kind of where sometimes the sports-centric side of New Japan is a little bit too chalk. It's like, I tried my best. I'm going to get up and fight another day. And it's like, fuck, no, we need something more from you, dude. Like, we need stars, and stars need to be investable guys, and they're not doing anything investable with him right now.
Yeah, I definitely think he would have benefited huge from this win. And if Team DK, or if the Chaos team's going to retain, then like you mentioned, he would have gotten something out of this feud with that win over Goto. So I think at the very least, like, he needs to pin Goto and win the match for titles, and then I would have him follow up and like beat Goto in New Japan Cup and really solidify it.
I know that there are some people who are probably listening, and their argument in their head is like, well, he's not slotted for singles right now. His next step is very obviously a tag team with Zach. Like, that's where they're kind of positioning them. But my retort to that would be like, yeah, but eventually you want this guy to go singles. And sometimes you need someone to pick up a win early along the way to kind of make them believable, you know? And you don't want him to just be the little homie to Zach who's just tagging along with his dad in these tag matches, who's the designated pin eater, especially since he's supposed to be like one of these future Reiwa guys. Like, you want something notable to kind of get him on the same level as Zach so that they're peers and not just mentor-mentee. Right,
and it's kind of the problem that we talk about where a lot of these guys, they come back from excursion, they're still kind of treated like young lions. It's like, all right, he's graduated, he's been on excursion, like, we need to start slotting them higher. Like, I get it, maybe you don't want to, they first come back, you don't shoot them to the moon, but all right, he's been back for a while now, like, he needs to move up the card. All these guys are leaving, like, we need to create new stars as current stars are leaving. And so the only way you're going to do that is by having him beat established guys, not him getting beat by a drum. Because it's going to get to a point where it's like, all right, Oiwa's not believable. He's going to be in these main events and nobody's going to buy in. Because, like, oh, we just saw him, he got beat all the time. Like, now all of a sudden a flip switch and he's going to start beating people. Like, no, it needs to start happening sooner.
Especially since Oiwa at this point, if you really think about it, what is his character? I mean, not that you need a gimmick, but he has no gimmick or character. The one thing you can kind of point to is the aesthetics of a true professional. There's the jacket. He's not that far off from like the throwback of like 80s guys, like who are all business and they're here to kick ass and they're technical. So if that's his deal and he's going to be this serious professional wrestler, you kind of need him to excel in that particular area and sometimes beat the top guy, to give him some level of credibility, because there isn't right now an established character. There isn't an established gimmick. There's not a cinch or sink, there's something to sink your hooks into. This is where the rubber meets the road and you kind of commit to a guy. I feel like they still think that they got all the time in the world. And obviously there's a lot of moving parts, but I'm like, I don't know. This just made all the sense in the world. He should have fucking beat him.
Yeah.
But this is one where I'm really critical of it.
Yeah. So we'll see what the follow-up is. Yeah. Hopefully it will lead to Oiwa getting the pin in the title match. And then you kind of have this Goto Oiwa feud for the rest of the year. But yeah, they definitely need to put their foot on the pedal with this guy and get him going.
Well, especially, I'm sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
I was trying to remember something that just came back to me.
Go ahead.
And Oiwa, on excursion, like he was in like GHC title matches, and I get it, like that's Noah, but still, like that's
he was a dude.
That was a top title in Japan, a top world title. It's like, why can't we get this guy up and going the same way? So I don't know.
And there were character arcs and feuds and storylines that had meaning. Mm-hmm. He turned on his mentor and they were feuding. He was Larry Zbyszko.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump into the news here. Just two very quick news items. Multiple outlets are reporting Clark Connors is close to signing with AEW. I think he's already signed, but
we'll see. He did have a match on Saturday with Darby, and they kind of did an angle post match where him and Gabe beat up Darby. They did kind of hammer home on commentary though that they're both members of Unbound Company, so I don't know where that's going.
Who knows? And then the New Beginning USA, which will be at the end of this month. From Trenton, New Jersey, will be a pay-per-view event on NJPW World for the low price of $20, $19.99 US. So, Let me put that into my handy. I'm at the point now where like I don't. Why are you laughing?
I already knew. I knew you were good.
I don't deal in dollars anymore. I'm strictly yen. So we're talking. This is not that bad. 3108.63 yen. That's pocket change. I'll throw 3,000 yen down to $20. I'm not paying $20. 3,000 yen. I'll throw 3,000 yen down. Like whatever. That don't fucking. That's one of the things we didn't talk about our Japan trip was like I had no clue. I mean, I knew how much stuff like kind of cost, and I was like kind of getting inferences, but like I really had no clue like what the value of a yen. I knew it was a lot less than $1, but I really had no clue. We'd be like, we'd get in a cab and they'd be like 3,000 yen. I'd be like, fuck it, I'll throw down 3,000. That's nothing, bro. It's like using like Monopoly money. It's not real money.
That funny money, man.
That funny money. Got a couple questions here and then we're going to get out. So Jeremy, Rambo and Slam Pig says, 1, if the era of House of Torture style heat is mercifully brought to an end, what kind of heel tactics or heel unit do you think would best or fit best into this new era?
I think United Empire is doing a great job of being what a heel unit can look like without having to have all the gimmicks. Like these guys are just mean. They're jumping their opponents. They're being rude to the crowds. They are getting heat. Like these guys they're not doing the low blows and lights out and garrote wires. Like they're just being very aggressive. They're targeting fan favorites. They've turned their backs on the crowds. A guy like Zane J. They've turned their back on factions like Jake Lee, and they're just being mean and menacing. They're not going out there with a bunch of gimmicks.
My favorite heel leaning unit of the most recent iteration of New Japan would be like not early Suzuki. Early Suzuki-gun was very much House of Torture coded. People don't like to acknowledge that or probably don't remember, but there was a time and period where like they were not that far off from like peak era run-in Bullet Club. Like there was times where Bullet Club was terrible like that and Suzuki-gun was like that. But like once Suzuki-gun returned from their Noah excursion, they kind of just became like, we're fucking badasses, but we're also pricks. We're dicks. We're heels. We don't like you. We don't give a fuck. But they also didn't overtly rely on the types of cheap antics and shtick that House of Torture and to an extent Bullet Club have really relied on. Instead, they found ways to cheat in creative ways that differed amongst all the different acts within the group. And they were still like, we have this unifying bond because, there's this thing between us where we're a team, but we're all kind of doing our own fucking thing. And we're all going to find some sort of way to cheat and get ahead. But they also didn't bring down the quality of the matches to an extent where it's like, this is just a slog and I can't fucking watch it anymore. And it's closer to like Four Horsemenism than it is to like NWO Russoism, if you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, there's times where Four Horsemen got into this, but like that's like late 90s Nitro era Four Horsemen, they fucking suck. But like 80s Four Horsemenism, they are closer to like a Suzuki-gun style of like cheating and stooging and getting ahead than than what like House of Torture is. So
yeah, and they had the simple things like jumping from the bell, attacking young lions at ringside. You have Lance Archer scaring little kids, making them cry, like just simple little things like that made them this hateable, detestable group.
I think one of the prime things that any heel could possibly do to learn there's other methods too, this isn't the only one, but like they should watch World of Sport joint promotions from the 70s and 80s, because that was literally a pure sports presentation where they did not make the referees look like fucking idiots. and the guys had to find ways to get around the rule structure to still cheat and get heat from the crowd. And they became masters of it. And it became the stories of the matches. And I'm not saying we need to go back to that, but there is something to gather from that style of creativity instead of just leaning into the laziness. And I think some people probably listening are like, yeah, but it works. The crowd gets reactions. It's like, yeah, but just because it gets a reaction doesn't mean it's to the betterment of the product or the match itself. There are better ways that have been done in the past to do this shit. And it just takes a little bit of ingenuity and creativity and maybe even some refurbishing. So,
yeah.
Second question from Rambone. He says, to follow up, what do you feel makes House of Torture so egregious to so many of us? Is it a matter of how frequent the heel heat happens, the repetitive nature, where it happens on the card, or the type of tactics used to generate heat that provokes a good or bad reaction?
Yeah, well, I think he nailed a lot of things and stuff that we mentioned when we were talking about Evil leaving last week. It's, House of Torture got so big to the point where, yeah, you have like 3 or 4 of their matches on a card, and then it's every match. It's all those 15 tactics we listed out last week that they're doing over and over again, and it's like nothing new, and it makes the referees look dumb. It's ruining the matches. It's not enhancing the matches, and so it's just the same thing over and over again year after year, and it's ruining matches just so you can get to the one moment where Evil loses in a semifinal match. Like it just was just not great.
I agree. I don't have much to add there. I think that Rambo did a pretty bang up job sort of just summarizing like what the frustrations with so many people are. And I think they're all accurate. HP Broad Valoria says, what did you think of Shakur Stevenson's masterclass against Teofimo Lopez? How would you rate 2020 Trainer of the Year Teofimo Lopez Sr. on a scale of terrible to ass? So, Jeremy, I'm assuming you probably did not tune in for this DAZN presentation.
I did not know.
That's all right. I was, honestly, I definitely favored Shakur Stevenson going into this match, but I wasn't necessarily sold on the idea that, that he would just mollywop Teofimo, because Teofimo is a badass. He can fight his ass off. And this wasn't even kind of close. Like, there was only one round that Lopez won, and it was the round where Shakur just decided to take it off a little bit and just catch his wind. But like, he literally, it was amazing. Like, Shakur Stevenson was able to just stand in the pocket. Now, he's a southpaw, but he was able to just stand in the pocket and control him with his right jab. And then he was able to throw in like gigantic right uppercuts, right hooks left uppercuts, left hooks, and left crosses, and just keep this guy off balance, basically tear him up. And there was no respect for Teofimo. Like, he didn't have a game plan to be able to handle the speed, precision, control, or defense that Shakur had in that fight. And what was really amazing is what he mentioned there. Is he said, 2020 Trainer of the Year, Lopez Sr., he was one of the worst cornermen I have ever witnessed in a major fight. Just no advice, no game plan, nothing of any sort of benefit to it is his son, but it's also his fighter. And it's like the most damning thing where he was just like, where's your power? Where's your power? Where is it? It's gone. You gotta bring it back. You gotta show us. And I'm like, that's not helping this dude figure out what he needs to do and what he needs to change to bring the fight to this guy and break his rhythm and break what he's doing here. And like, they had no, I'm sorry, bro. If I was Teofimo Lopez, my dad'd be fired the next fucking day. I'd be looking for a new trainer pronto, because that was embarrassing. But it wasn't a competitive fight at all. Like, Shakur Stevenson just like, He fucking sunned him. It was kind of crazy. Last couple questions. We're going to get done. Death Triangle 720 says, with AJ Styles' WWE run over, let's say AJ does one more match if he wants to in New Japan. If it did happen, would you be interested in AJ versus Tsuji for the world title? The match can accomplish a lot from a buzz standpoint to the actual match, giving Tsuji's run a bit of an unexpected opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I would welcome that. That would be a huge matchup, especially if, AJ's going to lay down, put them shoulders down.
Gonna do a JOB.
Yeah, eat this Gene Blast. But yeah, I think that would be an awesome matchup, and it, definitely get a lot of eyeballs on New Japan.
Yeah, I think back to the kind of recovery period of New Japan when they were looking to establish their next ace of the company, and I look at like they tried a few times to bring in guys to lay down for like for Nakamura, and then guys to lay down for like Tanahashi, because realistically what happened there, it's kind of eerily similar. Let me put the dog over here for 1 second.
Yeah.
He's driving me crazy tonight. No, won't let me make my point. But, basically the third generation, while they were still on top and while they still had to be the mountain that these guys had to climb, they didn't have the cachet to put them over in, like, say, the Tokyo Dome on the big cards to really generate the buzz and business needed for the public to see those guys in the next light. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was like for Nakamura, they brought in Takayama to try and be like the guy to kind of pass the torch for him. Didn't necessarily work out, but like for Tanahashi, they ended up bringing in like Kojima and Muto, big stars from the outside. And I felt like those two matches in particular in the Tokyo Dome did wonders for him. And if hypothetically you did have AJ come back, I can't think of another match that really. There are matches that make sense, I guess, and have some appeal. But if you really want to do something that has long lasting effects and really would change things, him coming back to challenge for the title again against the top star and doing the job in the Tokyo Dome, that's the right way to go.
Yeah, I think that would be huge. It'd be a big, guy for Tsuji to beat. It would elevate, his world title run and give him the credibility of, he just beat, former multi-time champion AJ Styles, former WWE star AJ Styles, and really kind of help the cachet for Yota Tsuji.
AJ does have some unfinished business with like Zack Sabre going back to the Rev Pro days. So, but that's not what I'm really clamoring for. And I can't think, is there a match that you're off the top of your head that you're just like, fuck, I would really love to see AJ come back and fight this guy? Is there anybody else that you can even?
I mean, there's a bunch of matches that would be fun. Obviously, AJ versus Shingo, AJ versus Ishii, AJ versus Drilla would be cool.
But I'm thinking, yes, you're right. But I'm thinking more of like marquee. Like what's the dream match? You only got one match. Say you don't do the Tsuji match. What else is there?
I can't really think of anything else. I think the Tsuji match would be it.
That's about it. Yeah. So I feel like that's the one they need to do then.
Yeah.
But, one last thing I will mention about that was like, I was watching him and Gunther and, they're doing this whole story, like, I don't follow WWE. I literally, the funniest shit was like watching the Royal Rumble, not knowing who the fuck anybody was. And, my brother-in-law, he doesn't watch it now, but he watched NXT a couple of years back. So he kind of knows everybody. He's like, oh, I couldn't even tell Javon Evans, or whoever the fuck. Like there's people coming out and he'd be like, Lilani, whoever, I don't know their names, but like, it was just fucking funny. He knew everybody, but like, I don't really follow that product, but I have been aware of the story kind of going with Gunther, where it's like, okay, he beat Bill Goldberg in his retirement match. Then he retired Cena. now he has quote unquote retired AJ. And it's like, okay, so he's the guy that retires people. And I think it is so fucking funny that they've decided to do that, because Gunther is someone that the fans do not, WWE fans just, they don't connect with him. They don't love him like that. And I don't think that they're ever going to look back, no matter how he's used, no matter how many classics he has. He's not a guy that like 5 years from now, people are going to like be playing the video games. And like when he's the DLC, they're going to be like, oh, remember how legendary the run of Gunther, like they don't fucking care. Like he does not fit the motif of what a Seth Rollins type of star in New Japan or in WWE is. And the creative doesn't love him like that. Like they only see him at a certain, like they have this idea that they're going to push him, but when push comes to shove and it's like him and a Roman or him and a Cody, they're never going to go with him.
Yeah. They give him the fake world title.
Yeah. They don't love him like that. So this idea that they're having him retire everybody is just, I don't know. It's so perplexing to me, because it's the kind of thing that you only do to someone that you want to establish as like, this is a legendary guy we're going to make money with. And it's like, who's next? Ray? Brock? You know?
Orton.
and we're getting to the point where it's like, it's going to be wasted motion, where it's like we've already, you know, we did FOH. We criticized how bad they handled like Cena's retirement. And I think when it's all said and done, they're not even going to handle Gunther in a way to where the payoff was actually worth it in the end, where he's going to be like a guy that's really remembered. And the reason I said all that is to say this: if there was anybody over the last 8 years that I just really lament not having ever come to New Japan or even AEW, but like having spent all those years in WWE and just never having gotten in the mix, he is the most of all the talents that have been in North America over the last probably decade. Nobody else is more tailor-made for New Japan than Walter.
Oh,
and the fact that he is stuck there and it's probably never coming over, it's one of the biggest shames that I could even think of.
Yeah. And I was surprised that he's been there that long, just because, like you mentioned, he's such like the opposite of what they would want from a pro wrestler or sports entertainer or whatever in their promotion, and it's somebody they would push. So it is kind of weird that he has gotten a push to a degree. But yeah, he would be perfect in New Japan. Obviously, yeah, he'd be a great, monster heel foreign world champion. But we ain't getting that.
That's gonna do it. That's all the questions. Do you have anything else before we go?
No, let me just refresh the New Japan site real quick to see if they
make sure nobody else has.
Yeah, okay. I think we're good. All right. Well,
while you're doing that, I do want to say real quick, because I don't want to make it too heavy. Obviously, in the midst of a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, and a lot of crazy stuff going on in this country right now, shows like this are a really good distraction and escapism. And it's, this is a hobby that we all love and are all invested into. But with the platform that we have, and I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there was a drop of the much fabled and requested and conspiracy theoried Epstein files. And literally 3 million pages of evidence was dropped by the DOJ. Some of it's been pulled and redacted, but that stuff was dropped this past week, including an additional 100,000 photos and over 2,000 videos. And the funny thing about all this is they have literally only dropped about 14 to 20. Yeah, like 14 to actually less than 14% of the full data of what they actually have in evidence files. But I say all that to say this: there is not a single news outlet in the entire country reporting on this in an actual meaningful way. And I know that it's very harrowing stuff and it's very stomach turning, but you as a listener owe it to yourself, whether you're a citizen of this country or not. This is public information. It's on the DOJ website. You can freely find it. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Blue Sky. You owe it to yourself to be aware of what is in these files for just what's been released. It is some of the most... It's bad. It's really, 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 really fucking bad. And wherever you fall on the political spectrum, it doesn't matter to me. You need to be aware of what's in this stuff. You need to see what the allegations are and the public records and the interviews and the affidavits. You need to be aware of it. So I just want to throw that out there. Not to make things too heavy, but like it's fucking bad, guys. It's bad.
And it's crazy that it has not getting more news coverage.
It's not getting news coverage because the people who are implicated and involved and named in these files, and a lot of them are redacted, are the same people that own all of the media.
Yeah.
They don't want it covered.
Yeah.
Or, the person, and I will just be blunt about this, the person who was named the most by far, other than Jeffrey Epstein himself, the person that is named by far, there's not a close second, is Donald Trump. The person that is named the most by as being a perpetrator and a predator and all sorts of other unspeakable, like, godless acts is Donald Trump. And if you're part of the media, how much do you want to report and go against the Department of Justice and, all of these mega conglomerates and corporate entities? Is bad. Yeah. What's in there, it's the kind of shit that people who are into conspiracy theories have said for years and have sounded like crackpots, but now there's verifiable evidence and no one's talking about it. And I almost feel like it's so perplexing that it's like, it's hard to even accept. Like the stuff that's in there is hard to accept as being real, but you kind of need to know about it.
Yeah. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Next week, we'll be back to preview and give our official predictions for the new beginning in Osaka. So remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KIStrongstyle. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KIStrongstyle, at Social Suplex, at Jeremy L. Donovan, at YB_Josh and Liger. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy, just Keeping It Strong Style. On YouTube, we're at Social Suplex. You can join our Social Suplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com. And check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Sheet Radio is by Rich Letta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. Imps AEW Adventure with the Implications Matthew Mayer. Wrestling Art with Chris Sings. Tall Talk with Allie and Leah. The Trish Inside Wrestling Podcast. And Joshying Around. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we'll catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.